Good day. My name is REXON BALO, a student of Master of Physical Education at Leyden University. Analysis movement in softball. At the end of this video, we are expected to achieve the following goals. 1. Define the basic skills in softball. 2. Analyze the movements in basic skills in softball. Third one, discuss the implication of knowing this topic as a coach, as a choreographer, and as a PE teacher. Scrabble game. The mechanics of the game is to formulate a word that is in connection to the topic analysis movement in softball. Guess the word. Softball. That's correct. Guess the word. Pitching. You got it. Guess the word. Throwing. Amazing. Guess the word. Fielding. Cool. Guess the word. Catching. Great. Guess the word. Running bases. Astonishing. Guess the word. Hitting. Fantastic. Guess the word. Stance. You're the best. Guess the word. Release. Awesome. Last word to guess. Swinging. Remarkable. Softball is a competitive game that is similar to baseball, but played on a similar diamond with a softer ball, which is pitched underarm. Between 3 to 7 innings are played, where the object of the game is to get more players to home base than opposing team. This is achieved by hitting a pitched ball into space and running between bases. The game relies heavily on pitching, batting, and running. But the way to get a runner out is by throwing the ball to a base before the runner reaches it. We have 4 basic biomechanical principles. We have lever, angles of release, forces, and Newton's law of motion. Fast pitch windmill softball pitching. The windmill technique used during pitching by softball players is a complex movement with 6 phases. The pitch is one of the most important aspects of the game and is a catalyst for all action. A good pitcher can keep the ball within the strike zone while being incredibly difficult to create contact. The 4 middle phases of pitching are named by arm position as related to the hands of a clock, while the first and last phases are named by the movement occurring. Summation of movement. The windmill movement of softball pitching requires full body movement, and proper form is essential not only in achieving an optimal pitch, but in preventing injuries. Why proper pitching mechanics matter? Young pitchers must be taught proper biomechanics to prevent future injuries. Softball pitchers often incur overuse injuries in their upper body, but can also suffer the lower body injury, especially in the hip. Also, the ability of the pitcher can be or break the game. Proper techniques can improve accuracy and speed, allowing the pitcher to deliver a more elusive pitch. The types of joint movement that is involved in the upper bodies are elbow flexion, wrist flexion and shoulder horizontal adduction, shoulder flexion, slight elbow flexion, circumduction, and wrist flexion, shoulder hyperextension and circumduction, shoulder flexion and circumduction, shoulder hyperextension and circumduction, shoulder flexion and circumduction, shoulder hyperextension and circumduction. On the other hand, the lower body involves knee flexion and plantar flexion, hip flexion and knee flexion, knee flexion and plantar flexion, hip flexion, knee flexion, and dorsiflexion, knee flexion, right leg, knee extension, left leg, and plantar flexion, hip flexion, knee extension, and dorsiflexion, hip flexion, right leg, knee flexion, hip extension, left leg, and plantar flexion, hip flexion, left leg, knee flexion, hip extension, right leg, and plantar flexion, hip flexion, knee flexion, left leg, knee extension, right leg, and plantar flexion. The biomechanics of softball. Running bases. The bones used in running around the bases are the hip joints and knee joint, femur, tibia, fibula, and about 50 bones in your feet. Also, your spine is used in this movement. When it comes to hitting a softball, you use mostly the radius, humerus, femur, tibia, fibula, phalanges, spine, ribs, and sternum. Gripping the bat. When your wrist rolls over, you are using with your flexors and extensors, which moves the carpals, metacarpals, phalanges, and bridges. Swinging the bat. While your hips are being twisted, your spine rotates. Your obliques are attached to the sternum and the ribs, which are instrumental in causing hip rotation. Pitching. The arm cocking phase ends with throwing the shoulder in a maximum external rotation. In other words, the forearm is approximately perpendicular to the trunk and the palm is facing up. Release. After a ball release, the throwing arm continues to internally rotate, leaving the forearm a pronated position. Pronation after release happens in an underhand throws, straight throws, and curveballs. Understanding the biomechanics of softball assisted you in improving various areas within your skill development, especially in the skill of throwing. The opportunity to analyze the throwing biomechanics via slow motion video was also invaluable. Although throw was accurate and within the appropriate distance, once you fully rotated your hips and chest to an angle of 90 degrees to the target, the cocking arms, shoulders, wrist action also follow more naturally. This allows the releasing ball so that the trajectory of the ball was flatter as opposed to an arc movement, which may have wasted time in the actual game situation. The utilization of biomechanics in terms of breakdown of throwing components resulted in accurate throw for distance in a shorter time frame. Therefore, the overall performance of goals for this skill were successfully met. The implication of knowing this topic as a coach, choreographer, PE teacher serves as a guide in instructing the students what to do and not to do in softball. Also, the instructor is aware of what bone and muscle movement are affected in the said sport. The importance of softball education and coaching is not only useful in dealing with the athletes and planning, but also in teaching. Once again, I'm REXON BALO, leaving you with a quote. Learn how to rest. Listen to your body. Learn when to stop.